regarding the quote unquote Israel-Hamas war. You guys notice I don't frame it that way. You don't often hear me say the Israel-Hamas war. It is not the Israel-Hamas war. No one can legitimately and credibly say that Israel is at war with Hamas. How can you say Israel is at war with Hamas when they have around a 97 to 98 civilian death rate? When they are targeting UN workers, when they're targeting journalists? They are not at war with Hamas at all. And I've been relentlessly pushing back at the idea that there's a war with Hamas. Israel is at war with the Palestinian people and anyone willing to help the Palestinian people. So after they failed to prove that Al-Shifa Hospital was a Hamas headquarters, they kidnapped the director of Al-Shifa Hospital. They kidnapped and tortured doctors so they won't be able to tell the truth that they are waging war against doctors, healthcare workers, and anyone who can provide treatment with Palestinians because they failed to adequately prove that Hamas is at the headquarters of the hospital. So what they do, they take the director and they torture him. How can you say they're at war with Hamas? How can anyone say that? How can anyone say, for example, that Israel is targeting Hamas, has an operation with Hamas? Before, CJ, and I'll pass right back to you. This is my opening monologue based on what I saw. Before, Hamas was this shadowy organization where no one knows where they're at. And now all of a sudden, Israel knows exactly what schools and what hospitals they're under. Who believes this? And they would bomb a refugee site. They would bomb a hospital, a school, kill 50 civilians, and they would then lie about killing one Hamas person after killing 50 civilians. And then ask if that's worth it. They say yes. So if your death rate is 50-1, how can you credibly say that they are going after Hamas instead of Palestinian people? That's the death rate, the civilian death rate of the Iraq war, the war on terror that completely delegitimized George W. Bush, even among MAGA Republicans. Donald Trump speak out against the war on terror because people know that it was not fighting terror. You cannot credibly say that George W. Bush was fighting terror when he had the civilian death rate that he had. There was innocent people at Guantanamo Bay. You can't say you're fighting terrorists when you're going after innocent people. So one last thing I'll say, I said this quite a few times. I'm more on the radical side of Palestinian resistance. I think all forms of Palestinian resistance is valid.
Yeah.
I am and there are people who are legitimate, who care about the Palestinian people, who are not as radical as us. Like there's people who like kind of want to like distance themselves from Hamas and that kind of stuff. But if you are for decolonization, if you're for revolution, if you're for fighting the current axis of evils, you should be rooting for Hamas. No one is fighting. I would say no one, because obviously Putin is putting one hell about, Maduro is putting one hell about as well. But when you turn, no one is sacrificing more fighting the U.S. imperial machine than Hamas versus U.S. and Israel. Israel has been a thorn at the side of Arabs who wanted to declare sovereignty against the United States. They are an aircraft carrier for the United States, and Hamas is fighting them for their liberation. If you're pro-liberation, it should be for them. And what I say, and sorry, this is really my last thing, CJ.
No, go ahead.
I don't even accept the bullshit. I don't even accept the bullshit that like Hamas invaded Israel. Hamas didn't invade Israel on October 7th. How can you invade yourself? You don't invade yourself. Even the UN, I looked at this, even the UN acknowledged that the place that Hamas quote unquote invaded is occupied Palestinian land. Imagine if Russia took United States territory and the United States attacked Russia in Georgia. Imagine if Russia took Georgia. Russia took Georgia. Then the United States go in Georgia, fuck them up, and then they're like, oh my God, the United States invaded Russia. That's not what happened. You can decry what the United States did when they went into Georgia, if you want to. You can decry if they committed war crimes and that kind of stuff. but you can't decry them for being successful in a military operation.